to do toasty bronzed glam for fall, but you have lighter or softer features, or you want it to be a little bit more wearable and still perform as full glam, keep watching. I'm showing you exactly how to achieve this sultry, gorgeous bronzed look for fall. Literally looks good on everyone and slays in photos. Prepping my skin with the Road Glazing Milk, really pressing that into the skin. After that dries down, I'm going in with the Dior Star Filter to the tops of my cheekbones. I want to have a mixture of like dewy, plump skin and blurred airbrushed skin. So only focusing this where I want a little bit of extra glow is going to help me achieve that. For that full coverage moment, I've been loving the Benefit Professional Foundation. One pump to the back of my hand and I'm priming my brush, then working the product into the skin, starting from the center of the face and then fanning outwards. I really like that this formula is blurring but still gives a natural finish to the skin. Okay, once that is all blended out, go in with concealer. I'm using the Mario one and I'm placing it underneath the eyes to really brighten the center of my face. I really like to do this kind of like stamping motion. I find you get the most natural effect. Outsides of the eyes to lift, the chin, and then the forehead to just balance the face. To go in with a shade that's not too light, as we're doing a very like bronzy look, if you use a shade that's too like starkly bright for your complexion, just end up like contrasting the bronzer a little bit too much and it won't look as seamless as we want. I'm to sculpt with some bronzer. You could use contour and bronzer, but to keep things simple, I'm just going to use bronzer. And again, I'm pushing the product into my skin rather than dragging, focusing it mainly on the perimeter of my face, starting at the forehead, down the temples, and then I'm bringing it onto the cheek a little bit more than usual. This is the Tennille J bronzer in the shade Iced Latte. A trick to make your complexion even more dimensional is taking another shade of bronzer. This is the shade Cappuccino. I'm being a little more precious with this shade since it's a bit darker, but going over all the same areas. More detailed brush, pick up some of that cream bronzer and add some to the side of the bridge of the nose. Cross your lid like underneath your brow bone where the crease of your lid is, and then drag it up and out to really elongate your eyes. Also add some to the lower lash line, a little bit to the lips. My face doing my backward setting technique. In my video yesterday, I really went in depth on my setting technique. This is right after. Look at the skin. Eyes, I'm going to keep it simple and just use one palette. This is the Makeup by Mario Master Matte's original palette. The key for a gorgeous, sultry, almost smoky eye is layering. So I'm first starting out with the shade M4, kind of like a caramel shade, and I'm adding that into the crease, connecting it to the side of the bridge of the nose, exactly where we placed the cream bronzer. I'm just kind of like reinforcing that structure to the lower lash line. Next, I'm sweeping a deeper brown shade. This is the shade M6 all over the lid space. I'm not really dragging it too far up. I don't personally like when eyeshadow goes all the way up to the brow. It kind of takes away from like the sultriness, and you don't get that really beautiful like popped lifted brow when you cover it with like brown eyeshadow. At least on my face. I feel like you can really see where the dark brown is going. It's very subtly mixing with the crease shade, but I'm not bringing it up too far. And with whatever is left over, I'm going to sweep that along my lower lash line. The shade M10, a really beautiful warm tone brown. I'm just going to very gently pat that on top just to deepen it a little bit more. Also going to sweep that on the lower lash line. Just whatever's left over, I'm not going to pick up more shadow. Take a brown crayon. I'm going to tightline your lower and your upper waterline. Picking up the darkest brown shadow from the palette on an angled brush, tucking it into my upper inner corner. And I'm going to add a really subtle little wing. Go back in with the crayon and go into your inner corner. It'll really set the inner corner and make sure it doesn't smudge away. To add a little bit of brightness to the eye, I'm going in with a cream or like a bone shade, sweeping that to the inner corner, dragging down ever so slightly, and then popping some on my brow bone. Adding a few freckles just for fun. You don't have to do this. I just think it complements the look really beautifully. I'm to add some cream blush with two shades of pocket blush. Going in first with the shade Tan Line from Rhode, and I'm focusing it on the apples of my cheeks, a little bit over the nose. I'm gonna go in with Toasted Teddy. This combo is my favorite recently. Two shades really complement each other, I think. Then just to make sure there aren't any weird harsh lines, I like to take the brush I used for foundation and just stipple it on top and kind of around the perimeter of where I placed the blush, and a little bit of powdered bronzer just to further that like airbrush effect. Over all the areas I put cream bronzer, a little bit over the freckles to really marry the whole look together. I'm taking a little bit of bronzer to my eyelids as well. People have a lot to say about my lack of eyebrows when I do tutorials. Instead of a tinted brow gel, I have been liking using this little ABH pen. Just add a little bit more thickness, also a little bit more darkness to my brows without having to commit to like a dark brow. Lips, I'm adding a little bit more cream bronzer to the Cupid's bow. The center of my bottom lip, just to really get that like pouty full lip. And then pressing in a little bit of powder so the lip liner can kind of grip on a little bit better. My lips with this Morphe lip liner in the shade Sweet Tea. I'm trying to go in with my cream bronzer. Just tap in a little bit of that pigment and go in with this Morphe like lipstick balm hybrid product. Center of my lips. You could add a gloss, but I really like how this looks just on its own. And with some setting spray, I've been loving this One Size one. A little bit of highlighter. This is my signature placement right in this little crevice. Also like to go to the bridge of my nose, the tip of my nose, and my Cupid's bow. Finally, some brown mascara. I'm using YSL Lash Clash. Okay, voila. Wearable Toasty Fall Glam.